Hello my gorgeous friends on the internet, how you all doing? Welcome to another amazing tutorial. Today we are going to look at how we can create a one-to-one video calling application with Flutter. Okay, so first of all I want to give a shout out to ZegoCloud, and they are the official sponsors of this video. And ZegoCloud is an amazing platform that gives us an easy API and SDK to integrate a voice call or video chat in our Flutter application or any mobile platform or web platform. All right, but in this video I'm only going to focus on Flutter because that's what I do. Yeah, so and looking at this you can visit ZegoCloud.com to learn more about them and also to see the various features they have. And if you hover here on products, you will see they have the SDK gives us so many features which we can integrate in our Flutter application. If you scroll down a little, you can actually integrate a video calling feature, in-app chats, voice call, and lots more, even live streaming. Okay, but also something I won't skip is that ZegoCloud is not entirely free. Okay, so you need to go through their pricing plan to see how to use it and how much. You can go through their websites. You can see a lot of features built for developers, built for businesses, and you can do one-on-one call kits. But what we are doing in this video is one-on-one video call, right? And you can see so many possibilities in ZegoCloud. You can do a lot of amazing things. Wow, what a platform. So you can also integrate with different platforms: Android, iOS, web, Flutter, React Native, Windows, and lots more. Okay, and I also have a list of their documentation where you can see how to use ZegoCloud. And in this video we are only going to focus on their SDK because they also have UI kits. You can focus on their SDK. So the SDK is actually customizable. All right, so you can see a lot of things which you can integrate. All right, so you just need to go through their documentation to understand more. And if you encounter any error, you can go to the error code section where you see a lot of errors that you can use. Okay, and so before I proceed, going to their documentation, the first thing we need to do is that we need to sign up and create a project in their admin console. So if you are coming into the platform as a new user, so you want to make sure you go to my account. Once you click here, if you're not signed up, it will ask you to sign up and create an account. And once an account has been created and everything is ready, it's going to take you to the console. So as a new user, you're going to see the overview screen. And all these projects are not going to show. This will present project that has already been done already. Okay, so you're just going to see this button here to create your project. Okay, so you can click on it, and from here you can select the type of project you want to create. In our case, is a video and voice call, right? Click on it, I'll scroll down and click on next. Here you can add the project name, so you can say Flutter Caller. Okay, and two-way to get started, either using the UI kit or using the SDK. So this tutorial is going to cover how to use the SDK. All right, so you want to start with custom SDKs. So this takes some time, okay, to load and then takes us to the dashboard. So we're just going to wait a little bit. All right, so once you see your project here, what you just have to do is to click on it. Okay, and it's going to take us to a new screen, the project configuration screen. So from here you're going to see your app ID and your app sign ID. Very important things that you need for the integration. All right, so make sure you grab your app ID and your app sign ID. So looking at our UI here, our project here, you can see it's more like I've already created a new project of Flutter. It's more like nothing, just empty, nothing serious here. Main method, the starting point of our application, and simple my app screen. So nothing it's actually integrated at the moment. Okay, then here inside our constant, I created a new app sign ID and app ID. So inside here I'm going to put in the app ID. Okay, and also I'm going to put the app ID is actually an integer like so. So I'm also going to put the app sign ID as well. So you want to make sure you grab your own and don't use mine. Okay, create a new project and use it there. So once that is out of the way, you want to actually add the different dependencies that will be needed. So for this project, we only need two dependency, which is the Zego Express engine. It's something you can find on pub.dev. So if you go to pub.dev and search for Zego Express engine, you are going to see it, and we can use that. And once you grab that, we also need a permission handler as well. So make sure you're using the latest version, and also I'm actually in the latest version of Flutter as well. So we have our permission handler, which is something you can also find on pub.dev. All right, so we're also using that as well for this integration. So the permission handler will be used to ask for permission. Remember, if you're using it, we need a camera permission and audio permission. So in that case, I've created a new file, utils.dat, that just handles the permission for us. Okay, so you're going to see how I will use it when we start integration. All right, so this is pretty much everything you need to get started. All right, so now we move into creating the UI, and yeah, like me granting camera and microphone permission. All right, okay, cool. We still have our two dependency, ZegoCloud engine and permission handler. We don't need much. So now I'm going to go ahead and start creating the UI, okay, the way we want it to look and all that. All right, so it's going to be a simple one, nothing much. So inside my material app, I'm going to have the home. So this home is going to represent the home page, okay, of our app. But right now I've not created a home page, right? So what I'm going to do, inside my lib folder, I'm going to create a new directory, and I'll call this one screens. Okay, so inside the screen, I'm going to create the home page inside. All right, so this home page, I just want to create something simple, and let me just give you back here. I'm going to create a simple stateful widget, and we have the home page. All right, so inside here, I'm going to create those test form field that will take the user ID and the room ID. All right, so quickly, I'm going to have the scaffold widget, and we have the app bar. Okay, oops. So we can now put the title in here. All right, so save that. I think we have error here, which means we need to import this guy. Save it. Okay, now we have, you can see we have our home screen. So let's go back to here and just create the body. So for this, I think I need to create, because we are going to create a room ID and username test form field, right? So that means, because I already have this UI, so what I can do is just to grab it instead of like to reinvent everything again from scratch. So I will have the body widget here, and I'll create it as a column because I want it to contain so many children, right? So we have the first test form field, okay, with the room controller as the controller. We have the test form field again that we ask users to enter name and room ID. Okay, so what I can do is just to add those two controllers that are needed for these guys. Okay, so we can just put them here. All right, so you can see the room ID and also the username, but this is not looking cool, so I will just wrap it with a padding and give it of 10. Save it. All right, so this is looking okay now. So we have the room ID and we also have the username as well. So moving on, I need to create those two buttons. Okay, I've removed that Google Meet stuff. So I'm going to create two buttons. One is going to be for creating a meeting, and the other one is going to be for joining a meeting, right? So first thing first, I'm going to wrap this inside a row. Okay, so we're going to have a test button here. Okay, and we can have meeting. All right, awesome. So I can actually make this one to sit at the middle, so we can use main axis alignment, space evenly. That should work. All right, so join meeting, and when a user is trying to join a meeting, they will need to enter the room ID and their username, right? So if you're building your own application, I believe users must have signed in already. You already stored their username somewhere, or if you're using email address to authenticate, you already stored your email address somewhere. So you can use it. If you're using Firebase now, you can use their UID as a unique identifier. Okay, so Yeah, so when you are creating a new meeting, the only thing we need is your username. All right, but in your own system, since you already authenticated users, you don't need to create this feed. Okay, I'm just using it as a use case for us to understand what I'm trying to do. Okay, when you're trying to join a meeting, I need to validate room ID and username, right? So in that case, I will first of all create a meeting, a kind of message stuff that will just show us a scaffold listener, scaffold messenger. In case you click, it will just show us that error message, right? An error dialog or something. So when you're trying to join a meeting inside here, I'm going to check if the name controller.test is empty or room controller.test is empty. We are going to say all fields are required. Else, I'm now going to push the user to call page. All right, so this works. So when you click on join meeting, you can see because these two fields are not filled, it's going to give us this error. All right, then yeah, the same thing too will be applied inside when we are trying to create a meeting. And for creating a meeting, we don't need to validate for room ID, we only need to validate for the user's name. All right, so I'm going to remove that. And same thing will apply here to push user to call page. All right, so that's it for the UI for this home page. And the next thing we are going to be doing now is to create another UI for what we are going to do now is to start working on the call page. All right, so in that case, I'm going to create a new screen here and I will call it call page.dat. all right, so this is where we're going to do all our call and all that. So this is now where I'm going to start working on this. I'm going to look through this SDK, okay, to start our implementation. First and first, we have already added our Zego Express engine, yeah, and now we need to implement the video call functions. Okay, so looking at this, you can see they have this UI. This black container screen represents the local view of the person initializing the call, or like you now calling somebody. Your own view needs to be very big, okay? And this other white screen represents the remote view of the person that you want to join the room with you, okay? And we have this button to stop the meeting. All right, the stop button. All right, cool. So I don't really need to do much, so I can just copy this depending on how you are creating your own UI. Okay, this is for tutorial sake, so I'm going to grab this. And in your own case, you already have a UI in mind. Maybe a UI designer created a UI for you and all that. Okay, so looking at this now, we have a local view widget created here and a remote view widget, okay, created here. So here we are checking if local view is empty, like if it's null, we are going to return an empty container, so nothing is going to show for that user. All right, and this position widget here represents the remote view, which represents this view here. Okay, so here we are also checking if remote view is null, just return a container, okay, and make it transparent. That's all we need. All right, and this button here, simple, it just represents this button here to call. All right, to end the call. All right, so because we already have this in place, I can now navigate users to this screen. But remember, we are validating for these feeds. That means we need to pass the room ID and the username as a constructor over from this screen down to this call page. All right, so for that I need to create room ID constructor. Okay, all right, so this works. So inside our home page, I now need to navigate to the various screens, right? So I already have, okay, import call page. All right, so I also need to trim it to remove any white space before and after it. All right, then also when we are navigating to, when we click on create a meeting, we are also navigating to the same screen, but now we don't need the room ID because we are creating a meeting. So I'm just going to remove it. All right, so now we are good. I can now say create a meeting. I need to pass in the username, right? Let's say Destiny. All right, click create meeting. Awesome. So now it has taken us to that new screen. Okay, so inside the call page now, what we just need to do is to let's say I want to pass the user name, which is the current username. It can just be something like this. Okay, so this is cool. All right, now we are going to start the main integration. Okay, we're going to start in main integration. So how it works, I already have this guy here. So let's say we have user A, which is me, this particular device. You are going to initialize the SDK, create engine. Once an engine is created, they are now going to log in into the room. Then from there, we can now start publishing stream, start playing stream, and all that. Okay, user B, we create engine, log in into the room, and start publishing stream. So this stream represents their, this is more like an implementation of the video calling logic. Understand the tech, the whole things similar to what already explained. So ZegoCloud Express is acting like a middleman, connecting user A and user B together, and then initializing the calls and the streams and everything. So they will just handle all that for us. You can also go through order of their docs to understand it properly. So the first thing we need to do is actually to create an engine. All right, so to create an engine, first need to call widget flutter binding ensure initialized, and we can now call the Zego Express engine, create engine with profile, blah blah blah, and all that. So you can just grab this, and the best place to call it is actually inside our main.dat before our run app. So you just want to put it here, okay, like so. Okay, so the app ID, now we already created it here, app ID and the app sign ID. So no need to worry. So we just have to put it here, app ID, and okay, so since we are not building for web, so I can just remove that web on, and then I'll put app sign ID. All right, so this app ID, it's supposed to be an integer, so I've not added it yet. Okay, so let's just leave it like this for now, because I'm going to add it later on. Okay, but don't forget, this is where you can grab it, your app ID and your app sign ID. All right, so that's where you can grab them. So yeah, well, that's pretty. So now looking at the doc again, we have to like create a start listing event. Okay, so this is actually going to like try to help us. It's more like a listener. When someone joins the call, we need to be updated. When someone leaves the call, whenever anything happens in the call, we need to be updated. Okay, so looking at it, it has so many callback. It has on room stream updates, on room state update, and also on room user update. So the most important one here, which we are going to be working on, is the on room stream update. Okay, on room stream update callback for update on the status of the stream in the room when new streams are published to the room or existing stream in the room stop. So it's more like when someone joins the room and when someone leaves the room, this will be triggered. Okay, so looking at here, you can see once the update type is equal to Zego update.add, that means someone is trying to join the room. Then we are now going to call start play stream, and then we'll pass their stream ID, because stream ID is going to be unique for every user. So we're going to pass the stream ID, and that's when you start seeing the remote view here, okay, for that user. All right, so now I'm going to add that quickly, which is the start stream, and we can now put it in here. Okay, make sure you import ZegoCloud engine, and we have the start play stream and also stop play stream. So I'm going to quickly put them there. So the start play stream will be called when someone joins the room, and stop play stream will be called when someone leaves the room. All right, so now I've integrated that start play stream and stop play stream, which is something we can find here. Start play stream and also stop play stream. To start playing a remote video stream, call this, and to stop, call this one. And looking at it, let me explain it with the code. it returns a video view ID. So this video view ID will be used whenever we want to destroy Canva view of that user. Okay, so you want to make sure you create another int variable. It's going to be null initially. Okay, so you want to make sure you have a local view ID and remote view ID to represent those two stuffs. All right, so when someone joins when someone joins the room, a new person is going to call start play stream, and it will now pass the stream.stream ID of that particular user. Okay, once it's passed, ZegoCloud engine will be triggered, and it will now create a Canva view by returning a view ID. So once the view ID is returned, we are going to assign it to the remote view ID that we created here. All right, and ZegoCloud Canva will be created as well. And after that, it will start playing the stream by passing the stream ID and then the canvas view which we created using the view ID. All right, then once everything is done, it will now return a Canva view widget, which is a widget. Okay, we can now call set state and then set it to the remote view. So once that remote view now is triggered, and once it's triggered, it's no more going to be null, and once it's no more null, it's now going to display the user view, like the remote user view, instead of showing a transparent container. All right, then when someone calls stop play stream, it's just going to stop playing the stream, and you see it's setting the remote view ID to null and also the remote view to null as well. All right, so that's it for that one. And the next thing now we are going to do here is to we also need to create a stop listing event, which is very important as well. And it's going to be called on the dispose method when a user leaves this stream. Like you leave this screen, we are going to call it, okay, to just set everything to null. All right, so that can actually be achieved when we have our on disposed. Can call stop listing stream like so. All right, okay, that's by the way. Let's move on to where we have login and logout. Okay, when someone logs in into a room, we need to create a login and also a logout. All right, this is not really needed because we are not building for the web now, we're only building for mobile. All right, then we need to create a Zego user. This Zego user, it needs the local user ID because we need to generate user ID. That's why I said if you're using Firebase, you have the UID, which is very unique. We can use that. And you also have the local username. And here we have the room ID. We need to actually pass the room ID as well. You can see it's coming from widget or room ID. This will be called, okay? And you're going to see how I'm going to generate it, okay? So if we are trying to create a new meeting, we're going to generate the room ID. But if we are trying to join a new meeting, I don't need to generate a new ID. I'll just grab it from here, okay, the constructor. All right, so quickly I'm going to show you how I actually create a UID and also the room ID. So for that, I have these guys here in place already. I'm going to use random to actually generate a random number. So see what I'm doing now. If we get the room ID is equal to null, that means a user is trying to create a meeting. So I'm now generating a random number, okay, and then return the ID. So if user.room ID is not equal to null, that means user is trying to join the meeting. I will just grab the widget.room ID from the constructor directly and return it, okay. Same thing applies to when we are trying to create user ID. So I'm just going to generate a random UID, and we are good to go. All right. So now I need to quickly integrate the login and the logout of users, okay? So once users try to log in, we are going to start publishing preview. This preview represents their local view, okay? Which is this black container you have here, okay? We are going to call start preview. And after that, we can now call start publish, which means we are now sending the stream to the ZegoCloud listener, and any other user that is connected to the room is going to receive it from this room stream updates, okay? I believe that is clear enough for you to understand. So what I'm going to do now is to add the login room and also the logout room as well, okay? So quickly we can put it here. So here we have ZegoCloud login results, login room, where you can pass the UID, okay, and also the username. So here we are creating a ZegoCloud user, Zego user ID, and the username. Okay, it's very important that you create that because ZegoCloud will use it to actually differentiate stuffs. Okay, and we have the room ID. This room ID is very important. You need to store it somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to create a new variable here. Initially, it's going to be an empty string. So this will help us when users try to log out from the room. So once you log in, I'm going to set a global variable to save the room ID. Remember, this room ID is actually what we created here, right? I'm going to save it there. Okay, and here you want to make sure that this value user status notify is equal to true, because it will help the on room update callback to always return a value, okay, when there's any change, when a user starts publishing stream or anything happens. Okay, then here we can pass the user. You can see ZegoCloud engine.instance login room. Then we have the room ID. We just have to pass the room ID that has already been assigned. Okay, then we have the user. We are passing the user here. Config, the room config representing this guy. Okay, then once everything is done, we can now start. Let me just change this to the message actually show error, because it's actually here if you notice. Yeah, okay, cool. So now what happens after login? Once the user logs in, and if the login has 0 error, we can start preview and also start publishing stream as well. Then when users try to log out from the room, we can now stop preview and stop publishing stream. All right, and passing the room ID here to show that, okay, we want to log out from this particular room. All right, so quickly we need to grab where we have our start preview and also our stop preview. So this start preview and stop preview will only remove the local view from the screen. Okay, that's what it's going to do. All right, so for this, I'm going to add it here. So start preview, once the login is complete, it's going to start preview. So the same thing that we did inside start stream, play stream, which is the start play stream, is still the same thing we are doing for start preview. The only difference is that start play stream is only triggered for remote users. Okay, then start preview is only triggered for local users. Okay, you can see the local view ID is also here. It's actually going to create a start preview, a Canva preview Canva and all that, and then you turn a Canva view widget, which we are now assigning to this local view. Okay, and once the local view is no more null, it's now going to render the UI in the whole of this screen. All right, so you're going to see how that is going to happen later. And we also have start publishing stream. So once the login is successful, preview has started, we need to start publishing stream to remote users, which this callback is going to get, and then it will now start playing the stream. All right, so for that we need to, let me go back to the doc. You can see we have the start publish and the stop publish. To start publishing a local audio or video stream to remote users, we're going to call start publishing stream method, which is this. To stop the stream publishing, we're going to call stop publish. All right, so for these guys, we also need to create a stream ID. Remember, I told you that stream ID is going to be unique for each users. All right, so I've actually discovered a way to make my own unique by actually using some kind of random number and also using the user widget name, like the name which the user entered. All right, so in this case we have start publish. So after calling the login room method, call this method to publish streams. The stream ID must be unique in the room. All right, so I've used this guy to just separate it, and I use widget.name. That means it's going to be unique for every users. And make sure if you're trying to log in, let the same users don't have the same name. Let different users don't have the same name. If not, there will be a conflict or something. So that's why you need to, I know your system, you already generate unique UID for each users. So I believe that's what you can use for your stream ID. All right. So once that is done, we can now start publishing stream, and then we'll pass the stream ID. And stopping stream, you can now call stop stream ID. All right, so that's pretty much everything we need for this screen. And not just that, you can, if you notice, we have not called any of these values. Okay, so the only two things we need to call is the start listing stream, start listing event, and also the login room, okay, which is this one. Then we are not going to pass the UID and the username. All right, so for that, I'm going to create an init state here. So inside here, I have my start listing event, okay, which has been triggered, and then I have my login room. So for the login room, I need to pass the UID. Remember, I already created get user ID here, so I can just pass it here. And we have the username, which is from this guy when the user tries to join. So I'm going to say reject.name. All right, so this works. And remember, it must not be null. All right, so what happens when the user clicks on this button? Simple, because from here it's actually popping the widget, but in our own case we need to like log out from the room, and once the logout is successful, we can now pop the screen, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, logout room.then. So once logout, you can see this is the logout. We can stop publishing preview, stop publishing stream, and also then we'll log out from the room, passing the room ID. All right, so this is cool, and yeah, we are good to go. But there will be some error if we run this. The reason is because permissions need to be triggered, okay, to get this stuff working. All right, so in that case, what I'm going to do now, if you look at the documentation, after running all these stuffs, we have configure your project. Okay, so that means we need to like add the various permissions that are needed for running it on Android and also for iOS as well. So let's start with Android. So you want to go into your Android directory, app source main Android manifest.xml file, where you add your permissions, and you want to add this list of permissions. Okay, so we have the Bluetooth. I don't know why they need Bluetooth, so you can remove Bluetooth because it's not needed, and internet is actually needed. Wi-Fi state, I don't know why it's needed, but we can remove that because if you notice here, we have the Wi-Fi state and Bluetooth. So I'm definitely going to remove that to see how it works. And you can add modify audio settings if you want, wake log to keep the screen on while the call is going on, and camera permission, access network state, internet, and record audio. Yeah, that's everything you need for the Android side. Now let's move on to iOS. Okay, so all these parts represent code obfuscation. That's if you want to release your app, which I strongly recommend. You need to add some pro-guard rules and all that. I have a video that explains things you need to do before you publish your app to Play Store. Okay, I'm going to put also in the link below, so in the comment section below, so we can see how to do it. Now we get to the final part, which is the iOS permission. Okay, so we need to add this guy inside our info.plist file in our iOS directory. So you want to go to your iOS directory and go to runner info.plist. So in here we need to put this, okay, to actually describe why we need microphone and a camera permission. Okay, very important thing to do. Okay, you don't want to miss that. All right, the dialog. Okay, so for us to actually enable that dialog prompt, if you go to your permission handler and scroll down to where we have iOS, okay, setup, we need to add these guys. Start the permission handler configuration. So we need to add all this. You can enable the permission needed here. So that means we need to add all these guys, okay, inside our pod file. So that way we can now comment the permissions that we need. Okay, we can now remove comment from them. All right, so in that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my pod file here. So inside here, okay, I'm going to paste this line of codes. All right, so since we need a camera permission, I want to remove the comment here, and also for microphone, I'm going to remove the comment. What this will do, when we run the app, is going to ask us, it's going to show that dialog pop up. because without this, even if you use permission handler, you call this check permission, it's never going to show that dialog. All right, so you want to make sure you add those. Now you might be wondering, where are we going to check the permissions? Very easy. I'm going to do that inside our home page. So whenever the user comes to this home page, you want to immediately ask them to check permission. Okay, but in your own code, you need to like know the best way to handle it in your project. Okay, how to handle permissions and all that. Okay, so I think there's no much thing that is needed here. All right, so this just represents our whole UI, and if I do a hot restart, you will see it's going to ask us for that permission. Okay, I think I need to like rebuild the app again, so give me a few seconds. Let me rerun the app. All right, guys, so as you can see, we have I've actually showed this is my iOS device. Okay, so I'm just using this is my physical device actually, because it would be nice to use a simulator, okay, to do this video calling. So I want to show you how it works real time. All right, so now what I'm going to do is to run this. Okay, I want to start building it for Android. Okay, so while Android is building, okay, we can also bring up the iOS as well and then run it for iOS. So let's just give our Android some few seconds to build. Android is running, so I'm going to run this app now for iOS. Okay, so you can see the app is running for iOS, and you can see the two permissions is now requesting for camera. So we're going to click OK, and now it's asking for microphone, so we're also going to click OK as well, and it's asking to connect to local device. Okay, allow. Cool. So now we have this one set up. So what I can do now, you can see it's now showing permission allowed and allowed. Okay, so the next thing I can do now is to create a new meeting. Okay, so to create a new meeting now, I'm going to enter my name, okay, and click on create meeting. And if you notice now, we have the local view. Okay, this is more like my room, and you can see the screen showing. All right, so we're also going to do the same thing for the other device, the other users. So this is actually my stream ID with my name, and here is the room ID. Okay, so I'm going to grab that and come in here. So I want this to show. Okay, I want to grab this. Okay, and I'm going to pass the room ID, all right, and also the username. So I'm using let me use Wisdom as the username. Okay, and I'm going to click on join a meeting. All right, so now notice the UI. Okay, and you can see the first one is showing, and you can see the first one is showing. Okay, so it's more like my network is so slow, so you can see the delay in response and all that, and that's because of my network. So and here you can see this view represents the local view for this other user, which is Wisdom. You can see this other one, which is me, my V device, which is showing here. So this is actually how cool it is. If you click here, you can actually exit the meeting, and once you click to stop, you can see the other user's screen has been removed. All right, so this is more like how it works. I think there's some issues here. I think I clicked on it twice. Okay, I clicked on it twice. All right, so looking at it now, this is my own view. Okay, my physical device or the view, and this one represents the other user's device. So I'm going to try to join the meeting again. I think I still have the UID, the room ID. Okay, and I'm going to pass the same name. All right, and join meeting. So just notice how the UI shows. Awesome, cool. So this is great, and you can see the voice is still echoing and going through the devices. So this is how you create a video calling feature in your application. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I want you guys to see. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to integrate it in the chat application. Alright, so stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. I'll see you guys in the next video.